You've just stepped into the Motivation Library, a place where struggles turn into stories of strength and dreams transform into destinies. Every book is a path, every chapter a step forward. Today, we walk a new path. Let's begin. Preface, dream, dare, do. There comes a moment in every person's life when the noise of the world grows deafening, when expectations, fears, and failures blur the sound of our own heartbeat. And yet, somewhere beneath all that noise, there is a whisper, faint but unyielding. A whisper that says, "You were made for more." This book was born from that whisper. It is not a book about achieving perfection, nor is it about pretending that fear doesn't exist. It's a story, your story, about remembering who you are beneath the doubts, the delays, and the detours. It's about rediscovering the courage to dream again, to dare again, and to do what your heart has long known it was meant to do. For years, I believed that dreams belonged to the extraordinary, to the ones who were luckier, smarter, braver. But as I journeyed deeper into the human spirit, I discovered a truth both humbling and electrifying. Greatness is not reserved. It is reclaimed. By ordinary people, in ordinary moments, through extraordinary decisions. This book is a map, not a rigid one, but a living one. It doesn't promise shortcuts or secrets. It offers a way back to yourself. Each chapter is a step, from vision to belief, from hesitation to action, from fear to freedom. You will meet people in these pages, some famous, some faceless, who turned their doubts into direction and their scars into strength. You'll walk through moments of darkness only to see how light was hiding in every crack. You'll see how failure can become a foundation, how courage grows in the unknown, and how dreams are not found but forged. Because the truth is, dreams don't die, they wait. They wait for you to stop running from fear and start walking toward purpose. They wait for you to realize that daring doesn't mean being fearless. It means moving with fear, not against it. And they wait for the moment you finally decide that action, not intention, defines destiny. You and I both know that dreaming is easy when life is kind. The real test begins when the world says no, when your plans collapse, when your faith trembles, when the path forward vanishes in the fog. That's where this book meets you. Not at the summit of success, but in the valley between who you were and who you're becoming. Dream, dare, do, is a mirror and a torch. It shows you what you've forgotten and lights the way to what's next. It's a reminder that no matter where you are, no matter what you've lost, no matter how many times you've stumbled, you can begin again. Every page you turn is an invitation to reimagine what's possible, to confront your fears with grace and grit, to build the discipline that transforms desire into destiny, to surround yourself with people who make you braver, to fail forward, rise stronger, and live louder. This is not just a book. It's a movement, from passivity to purpose, from doubt to determination. It's an anthem for those who refuse to let comfort become a coffin for their calling. And when you finish this journey, I want you to remember one thing. Dreaming is not a luxury. It's your responsibility. Because when one person dares to dream and do, truly do, they don't just change their life. They change the world. So take a deep breath. Close your eyes for a moment. Listen to that whisper again, the one that never stopped calling your name. This is your time to rise. This is your permission to begin. This is your moment to dream. Dare. Do. Chapter 1. The Power of a Dream. Every great story, every invention, movement, and revolution began as something invisible, a flicker of thought, a dream whispered into the silence. It wasn't born in boardrooms, classrooms, or on stages. It began here, in the quiet corners of the mind, when no one else could see it. Dreams are where everything begins. They're the blueprint of what's possible. They are the first heartbeat of creation. But somewhere along the way, most people stop dreaming. Not because they don't want more, but because life convinces them it's safer not to. Maybe someone told you your dreams were too big. Maybe the world mocked your fire, your ideas, your desire to stand out. So you folded your wings and called it being realistic. But the truth? Realism is often just fear dressed in wisdom's clothes. Every breakthrough in human history came from someone unrealistic enough to believe they could change something. Wright brothers, flying machines. Marie Curie, science that defied limits. Martin Luther King Jr., a dream that reshaped humanity's conscience. They were called foolish, impossible, delusional, until they weren't. The birthplace of possibility. Dreams are not fantasies. They are premonitions of what's possible when courage meets purpose. They are your soul's way of showing you a glimpse of your potential. Think about it. Every time you close your eyes and imagine something greater, that's not just imagination. That's your inner self reminding you. This could be you. The life you see in your dreams, confident, fulfilled, alive, isn't fiction. It's a preview. But here's the problem. Most people stop at the preview. They watch the trailer, but never make the movie. The moment the dream dies. It's not failure that kills most dreams. It's silence. It's postponing. It's waiting for the right time. You tell yourself, once I have the money, the support, the confidence. But life never hands you perfect timing wrapped in a bow. Every dreamer you admire began before they were ready. Steve Jobs started Apple in a garage. Oprah began her career being told she wasn't fit for television. Walt Disney was fired for lacking imagination. If they had waited for permission, we'd have no iPhones, no magic kingdoms, no inspiration at all. The right time isn't coming. The time is now. Because dreams have an expiration date, not in reality, but in belief. The longer you wait, the weaker your faith becomes. Not in the dream, but in yourself. The fire within. You were born with a seed of purpose. Something only you were meant to bring into this world. And that seed, your dream, is waiting for light. But light doesn't come from luck. It comes from attention. From daring to say, this is mine to do. Dreams don't survive neglect. They survive nourishment, courage, discipline, and persistence. If you ignore your dream long enough, it doesn't die quietly. It turns into restlessness. It whispers in the back of your mind. There's more to you than this. That whisper is your destiny, still waiting to be claimed. The power of vision. Close your eyes for a moment. Picture the life you crave. The one that feels too bold, too beautiful, too far away. Now imagine waking up every day inside that vision. How would you move? How would you speak? Who would you be? That version of you already exists. They're waiting for you to stop doubting and start daring. When you visualize your dream clearly enough, your brain begins to believe it's real. That's not magic, it's neuroscience. The subconscious mind can't distinguish between imagination and memory. So the more vividly you dream, the more your mind begins to act as if it's already true. That's how world changers live, not by luck, but by alignment. They dream it until they become it. The story of two builders. Let me tell you a story. Two friends stood at the edge of a field. Each wanted to build a home. The first waited for the perfect day, clear skies, strong tools, the best materials. He spent years planning, waiting, and doubting. The second one, he picked up a single brick and began. The sky wasn't perfect, the ground was uneven, but he laid the first stone anyway. Years passed. The first friend was still waiting for someday. The second had built a castle. Because dreams are built from motion, not perfection. If you wait until it's easy, you'll wait forever. And here's the secret. It's not the brick that matters. It's the courage to lift it. Dreamers versus doers. Everyone dreams. Few dare. Fewer do. Dreamers imagine what could be. Doers build it, through rejection, sweat, and persistence. Every time you take one action toward your vision, you step from fantasy into faith. Faith in yourself. Faith in the process. Dreams without action are just wishes. But dreams with discipline, that's destiny in motion. So if you have a dream, protect it. Feed it. Speak it out loud. Write it down. Nurture it until it becomes too strong to die. Because your dream isn't random. It's your assignment. Key takeaways. Every great achievement starts as a dream, a whisper of what's possible. Fear disguises itself as realism. Courage begins where comfort ends. Your dream is not a fantasy. It's a preview of who you're meant to become. Waiting for perfect conditions kills more dreams than failure ever will. The difference between dreamers and doers is action. Action step/challenge. Find a quiet place tonight. Close your eyes. Write down your biggest dream, the one that scares you. Then ask yourself one question. What's one small brick I can lay today? And then do it. Start messy. Start scared. Start now. Because this, right here, right now, is the moment your dream begins to breathe again. Chapter 2. The Fear Barrier. Fear. The invisible wall between where you are and where you're meant to be. It doesn't shout. It whispers. It tells you not now, not ready, not you. Every dreamer meets this wall. Every visionary, every artist, every leader stood once before the fear barrier, trembling, uncertain if they were strong enough to cross. The voice that lies. Fear has one job: to protect you. It's ancient, wired deep inside the brain's amygdala, built for survival. In the wild, it kept you alive. Today, it keeps you small. The brain can't tell the difference between a tiger in the forest and a stage full of people staring at you. Between a physical threat and an emotional one. It feels danger and hits pause on your destiny. That's why your palms sweat before an interview. Why your chest tightens before you speak your truth. Why your mind invents 100 reasons to stay comfortable. It's not because you're weak. It's because you're human. But the question isn't, do I have fear? The question is, will I let it lead? The great illusion. Fear pretends to be logic. It wears the mask of wisdom. It says things like, wait until you're more experienced. Maybe this isn't your path. What if you fail? But fear's goal isn't to guide you. It's to guard you, even from growth. You see, fear has no imagination. It doesn't dream. It only repeats patterns of the past. Every time you take a new step, fear rings the alarm, screaming, unknown equals unsafe. But the unknown isn't unsafe, it's unwritten. And you are the author. When the mind becomes a cage. Most people don't live limited lives because they lack opportunity. They live limited lives because they obey their fear. They build invisible cages, made of what-ifs, self-doubt, and the ghosts of past mistakes. They shrink their dreams to fit their comfort zones, instead of stretching their courage to fit their potential. It's like watching a bird born for the sky, pacing inside an open cage, wings tucked, convinced it can't fly. Freedom was never taken. It was surrendered. The psychology of courage. Neuroscience teaches us something powerful. Fear and excitement trigger almost the same chemical response. The difference? Your interpretation. When you tell yourself, I'm scared, your body braces for threat. But when you tell yourself, I'm excited, your body channels that same energy toward possibility. That's why the world's top performers don't eliminate fear, they transmute it. Before a race, an athlete's hands shake. Before a speech, a leader's heart races. But they don't see it as panic, they see it as power. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the mastery of it. The diver and the deep. Let me tell you a story. There was once a young diver, obsessed with exploring the deep ocean. He trained for years, memorized the safety codes, studied pressure limits. But when the moment came to dive beyond the light, he froze at the edge of the water. His mentor, an old sea captain, placed a hand on his shoulder and said, Son, the first dive always feels like drowning. But remember, you were made to breathe deeper than fear. The young diver leaped. At first, panic, darkness, pressure, then silence, beauty, wonder. He surfaced gasping, trembling, but transformed. Because courage isn't built in theory. It's built in motion. You can't think your way into bravery. You have to dive. What fear teaches? Fear is not the enemy. It's a compass. It points directly toward the thing that matters most to your soul. You fear what you care about deeply. You fear launching your idea because you know it could change your life. You fear loving again because you know your heart still wants to believe. You fear stepping on stage because something inside you knows you're meant to be seen. The presence of fear means there's something sacred on the other side. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a signal. You're standing at the edge of something powerful. The heroes and their fears. Every hero you admire was once terrified. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison, terrified that the world would forget his cause. J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter as a broke single mother, facing rejection after rejection. Michael Jordan missed more than 9,000 shots, lost nearly 300 games. Each one could have quit. Each one could have let fear write their ending. But they did something extraordinary. They moved anyway. They understood that fear doesn't vanish when you succeed. You simply get better at dancing with it. Fear travels with you, but it doesn't have to drive. The anatomy of action. The only way to shrink fear is through movement. When you act, the brain receives new data. It learns that the monster wasn't as big as it imagined. The more you move, the quieter fear becomes. Action teaches your mind, I am capable. It's like standing in a dark room, convinced there's a monster. You can either sit and tremble, or switch on the light. Action is the light. Facing the mirror. Ask yourself, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? Now flip it. What if I did it even though I am afraid? That question, that's where transformation begins. Because fear doesn't leave before courage arrives. They coexist. Courage just speaks louder. Every time you act in spite of fear, your identity shifts. You stop being the person who dreams of it and become the person who does it. That shift, invisible at first, becomes the foundation of your future self. The science of bravery. Fear isn't conquered in giant leaps. It's eroded by small acts of defiance. Each time you speak up, show up, or take a step you once avoided, you rewire your brain's fear circuit. Neural pathways change. Confidence compounds. Courage is a muscle, and every rep counts. So start small. Face the discomfort. Step into the unknown. And soon, what once terrified you will feel like home. A story from the shadows. There's a story of a painter who hid her work in her attic for 20 years. She told herself she wasn't ready, that her art wasn't good enough. One day, her house caught fire. Everything was gone. For the first time, she had nothing left to lose, so she painted again. Raw, honest, fierce. Her work exploded with emotion and truth. When asked later what changed, she said, "I finally stopped painting to avoid fear. I started painting through it." Your fear isn't a wall. It's a doorway. And sometimes, the fire that scares you most is the one that sets you free. Key takeaways. Fear isn't a sign of weakness. It's proof you're pushing boundaries. The brain confuses discomfort with danger. Train it to see possibility. You can't think your way out of fear. You must act your way through it. Fear doesn't disappear with success. You just stop giving it control. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's motion in spite of it. Action step/challenge. Write down 3 fears that have been holding you back right now. Then, beside each one, write one action you can take this week to move through it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. Then whisper to yourself, out loud, "I am not fearless. I am brave." Because fear only wins if you stop walking. And today, you take the next step. Chapter 3. Dare to begin. There is a moment in every dreamer's life when the vision feels too heavy to hold. When the heart burns with possibility but the hands tremble with hesitation. When you stand at the edge of something extraordinary, yet your feet feel anchored in doubt. That moment is sacred, because it's the doorway between thinking about the life you want and living it. And that doorway has one name, beginning. Most people never walk through it. They wait for certainty, for confidence, for the right time. But here's the truth no one tells you. There is no right time. There is only now. The illusion of readiness. People think they need to be ready before they start. They want to feel confident, qualified, sure. But confidence doesn't precede action, it follows it. The greatest illusion dreamers face is that someday they'll feel ready. That there will be a moment when the stars align, the fear fades, and everything feels safe. But that moment never comes. If you wait until you're ready, you'll be waiting your whole life. Because readiness is born through the doing, not before it. Every bold move begins in uncertainty. Every great journey starts with shaking hands and a nervous heart. Courage isn't something you find, it's something you decide. The leap. Think of a trapeze artist. They swing high, gathering rhythm, momentum, but the moment that matters most is the one where they let go of the bar. For a few seconds, they are suspended in air. No safety, no certainty, only faith that the next bar is waiting. That's what beginnings feel like, suspended between what is and what could be. But it's in that space, in the terrifying unknown, where life expands. You don't grow by clinging. You grow by letting go. The tragedy is, most people never swing. They spend their whole lives holding one bar. Comfort, routine, predictability, staring at the next bar and wondering what if. But the truth is, what if is the seed of destiny. And destiny never grows in safety. The first step is the hardest. In 1955, a quiet seamstress named Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. That simple act, sitting still, ignited one of the greatest movements in human history. When asked later if she was afraid, she said, "I had no idea what would happen. But I knew one thing. I had to begin." That's the secret of beginnings. They don't require clarity about the future, only conviction about the next step. You don't have to see the whole path. You just have to take the first step toward the light, even if it's dim. Beginnings are small, but they ripple. A single word becomes a book. A single sketch becomes a masterpiece. A single step becomes a revolution. The first step is the hardest, but it's also the one that rewrites everything. The paralysis of perfection. So many dreams die at the altar of perfection. People say, I'll start my business when I have more money. I'll write my book when I have more time. I'll chase my dream when I feel more confident. But these are lies disguised as logic. Perfection is fear in a tuxedo, dressed up as preparation. If you wait until everything is flawless, you'll never start. The world doesn't need your perfect work. It needs your real work. The messy, unfinished, raw, authentic version, the one that breathes with your humanity. Don't aim to begin perfectly. Aim to begin honestly. The weight of someday. Someday. The most dangerous word in the language of dreamers. Someday I'll travel. Someday I'll write. Someday I'll tell them how I feel. But someday isn't a day of the week. It's a mirage, a comfortable illusion that keeps you from now. Years pass. Dreams fade. The fire dims, not because it wasn't real, but because it was never fed. There comes a point when you realize the world doesn't wait. And your dream won't chase you. You have to chase it. The question isn't, what if I fail? It's, what if I never try? The story of the runner. There was once a man who dreamed of running a marathon. For years, he told himself he wasn't ready, not fit enough, not trained enough. He waited. Then one morning, he woke up and realized he had spent more time thinking about running than actually running. So he stepped outside. He didn't start with 26 miles. He started with 1 block. The first few minutes burned. His lungs screamed. His legs ached. But something powerful happened. He felt alive again. He realized the pain of starting was nothing compared to the pain of never starting. A year later, he crossed the finish line of his first marathon. And when asked what the hardest part was, he said, putting on my shoes. That's the truth of beginnings. The hardest part is never the doing. It's the deciding. Dreamers who began before they were ready. Every success story begins with a trembling yes. Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak built Apple in a garage. They didn't wait for perfect conditions. They built their conditions. Oprah Winfrey faced rejection after rejection before becoming one of the most influential voices on the planet. She didn't wait for permission. She gave herself permission. Colonel Sanders was rejected over 1,000 times before anyone tasted his fried chicken recipe. He began when most people would have given up. And J.K. Rowling? She wrote Harry Potter while living off welfare, typing in cafes with her baby asleep beside her. She didn't have certainty. She had a beginning. The world remembers those who start, not those who wait. Faith in motion. There's a secret rhythm to life. Motion creates clarity. You'll never know all the answers until you move. Each step reveals the next one. Every action shapes your next decision. You can plan all you want, but life rewards momentum. Faith isn't about knowing. It's about trusting the process while you move forward. When you dare to begin, the universe starts to rearrange itself around your courage. Doors you couldn't see start to open. People you haven't met appear at the right time. Opportunities rise from nowhere. Because beginnings carry a sacred energy, the energy of belief in motion. Letting go of the old you. The moment you begin, something else happens, an identity shift. You stop being who you were and start becoming who you're meant to be. That's why beginnings feel so hard. They're a kind of death. The death of comfort, of control, of certainty. But in every ending, something else is born, growth. And growth is the birthplace of greatness. Don't be afraid to let the old you burn away. Every version of you that hesitated, doubted, or waited too long, let them rest. You're not losing yourself. You're finding your fire. The ripple effect. When you begin, you give others permission to begin too. Your courage becomes contagious. Your first step becomes someone else's roadmap. Every time one person dares to begin, they send a message into the world. It's possible. That's how revolutions start. That's how art changes culture. That's how dreams spread. You never know who's watching your courage and whispering. If they can, maybe I can too. You don't need the whole plan. You don't need all the answers. You just need alignment between your heart and your feet. One step, then another, and another. Action builds momentum, momentum builds confidence, and confidence builds destiny. So stop waiting for the light to turn green on every lane of your life. Go, move, dare, begin. Because progress doesn't come from knowing what's next. It comes from trusting that you'll figure it out along the way. Key takeaways. You'll never feel fully ready. Begin anyway. Courage is not born from confidence. Confidence is born from courage. The hardest part of any dream is starting. Motion creates clarity. The path appears as you move. Every beginning ripples outward, inspiring others to begin too. Action step/challenge. Think of one dream you've delayed. Now, take one action toward it today, no matter how small. Send the email. Make the call. Start the draft. Register the name. The first step won't be perfect. It won't feel easy, but it will change everything. And when you take it, whisper these words to yourself. This is how it begins. Chapter 4. Design your destiny. Destiny is not written in the stars. It's written in your steps. It's not waiting to be discovered. It's waiting to be designed. Too often, people live by default, not by design. They wake up, go through the motions, and call it life. But the truth is, life doesn't happen to you. It happens through you. Every choice, every thought, every small decision is a brushstroke on the canvas of your destiny. The question is, are you painting it consciously or letting someone else hold the brush? The architecture of a life. Think of your life as a building under construction. Every dream needs a blueprint, a vision of what it's meant to become. Without it, you're just stacking bricks, hoping they form something meaningful. Purpose gives structure to effort. Vision gives direction to motion. Discipline gives power to potential. Without these, you might work hard, but you'll still feel lost, like running fast without knowing where the finish line is. When you design your destiny, you stop reacting and start creating. You stop asking, what if, and start saying, what next? The mirror moment. There comes a moment in every person's life when the mirror stops lying. When you look at yourself and realize, this isn't who you're meant to be. You see the gap between what you are and what you could be. That moment is both terrifying and liberating. Terrifying, because it exposes how far you've drifted. Liberating, because it means you finally see clearly. That's the moment destiny whispers, it's time. But most people turn away. They retreat into distraction, scrolling, working, numbing, anything but change. Because change feels like chaos before it feels like creation. But those who stay with that reflection, who face it fully, they awaken the architect within. The story of Walt Disney. Walt Disney was fired from his first newspaper job because his editor said he lacked imagination. His first studio went bankrupt. He faced rejection after rejection when he pitched the idea of Mickey Mouse. Banks turned him down over 300 times when he tried to finance Disneyland. But Disney wasn't chasing approval. He was designing destiny. He once said, "All our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them." That's not just optimism. That's architecture. He saw the world not as it was, but as it could be, and built it. Brick by brick, setback by setback, dream by dream. That's what it means to design your destiny. To refuse to let circumstance define your direction. Clarity before hustle. We live in a culture obsessed with hustle. Work harder. Grind more. Never stop. But hustle without clarity is chaos in disguise. It's like running on a treadmill. Lots of motion, no progress. Clarity is the compass. Without it, you can't design anything. Not a life, not a business, not even a morning that matters. Before you move faster, stop and ask deeper. What does success really mean to me? What kind of person do I want to become? What values do I want my life to stand for? Because once you know your why, your how becomes unstoppable. Clarity doesn't come from thinking harder. It comes from listening closer. It comes when you silence the noise and hear the faint whisper of your heart saying, "This is who I'm meant to be." Vision is a vow. A dream becomes a destiny when it becomes a vow. It's not something you hope will happen. It's something you decide must happen. The people who change the world don't just have goals. They have vows. Mandela vowed to see his people free. Malala vowed to fight for education. Elon Musk vowed to make humanity multiplanetary. A vow has power because it shifts the question from "can I?" to "how will I?" Once you decide, the path reveals itself. When you commit, truly commit, you ignite the energy of alignment. The universe, fate, whatever you call it, begins to move with you. That's the magic of destiny design, when your heart, mind, and actions all say yes to the same vision. The power of imagining forward. Every great design begins in imagination. But imagination is not fantasy, it's foresight. Close your eyes and picture your ideal life 5 years from now. Where are you waking up? Who's beside you? What kind of work fills your days? How do you feel inside your skin? If that image feels distant, don't dismiss it, build it. You don't have to know every detail, just the direction. The clearer your inner vision, the easier it becomes to shape your outer world. Your imagination is the sketchbook of your destiny. Every great design begins with daring to see what doesn't yet exist. The story of a street vendor. In the crowded lanes of Mumbai, there was a man who sold chai, tea, every morning. He started with a small stall, no name, no fame, just a dream to serve something meaningful. But he had a vision, not just to sell tea, but to create connection. He began writing small inspirational quotes on each cup. At first, people laughed. Then they shared those quotes on social media. Soon, his little tea stall became famous. Tourists came just to experience the tea with a message. A few years later, he opened a chain of cafes called Chai with Purpose. When asked what made the difference, he said, "I didn't sell tea. I served hope." That's the power of design. He didn't wait for luck. He created meaning through vision. From vision to strategy. Dreams without strategy are just wishes. Designing destiny isn't only about visualizing. It's about organizing. You need structure, direction, and small daily disciplines that move you forward. Here's a simple framework. 1. Define the dream. Write it down clearly. The brain treats written goals as commands. 2. Break it down. Divide big dreams into micro-missions. One step at a time builds momentum. 3. Set non-negotiables. Commit to small daily actions that keep your dream alive. 4. Track progress. What gets measured gets improved. 5. Adjust. Don't abandon. Flexibility is not failure, it's refinement. Destiny isn't a straight line. It's a series of recalibrations toward what matters most. The courage to let go. To design something new, you must be willing to destroy something old. You can't build your future while clutching your past. You can't create your destiny while defending your comfort zone. Let go of what no longer fits the person you're becoming. Old habits, old fears, old definitions of success. Every new chapter of your life requires a new version of you. And sometimes that means saying goodbye to who you once were. It's not betrayal. It's evolution. Designing through detours. Even the best designs face storms. Plans fail. Doors close. Life reroutes you. But detours aren't delays, they're directions. Sometimes, what feels like rejection is redirection. Sometimes, the dream you lose clears space for the destiny you're meant to live. The architect of destiny doesn't panic when the blueprint changes, they adapt. They understand that the design evolves as they do. So when life shifts, don't curse the detour. Study it. It may be leading you exactly where you're meant to go. The vision ritual. Every morning, remind yourself of the destiny you're building. Visualize it with clarity. Feel it as if it already exists. Speak it aloud. This is who I am becoming. This is the life I'm designing. Because repetition builds belief, and belief shapes behavior. And when your behavior aligns with your vision, destiny stops being distant, it becomes daily. You don't wait for miracles. You become one. Key takeaways. Destiny is not discovered. It's designed through clarity, discipline, and purpose. Clarity before hustle. Direction matters more than speed. Vision without strategy is fantasy. Strategy without vision is survival. Every detour has design. Your setbacks are shaping your blueprint. The architect of destiny builds from the inside out. Action step/challenge. Tonight, take 30 minutes in silence. No distractions, no phone, no noise. Ask yourself, what is the life I truly want to create? What kind of person must I become to live it? What daily actions can I begin today to move toward it? Write your answers. Because destiny begins the moment you stop guessing and start designing. Chapter 5. The Discipline of Dreams. Dreams don't come true because we wish for them. They come true because we work for them, consistently, relentlessly, even when no one is watching. The world celebrates results, but destiny is built in the shadows. In the 5 a.m. mornings no one sees. In the sacrifices no one applauds. In the choices you make when the noise fades, and it's just you versus your excuses. Discipline is the bridge between dreaming and doing. It's the silent architect of every success story the world has ever known. The myth of motivation. We've been taught to chase motivation, to wait for inspiration to strike before we act. But motivation is fickle. It's emotional weather, sunny one day, stormy the next. Discipline, on the other hand, doesn't depend on how you feel. It's what you do even when you don't feel like it. Motivation asks, do I want to? Discipline says, I will anyway. If motivation is the spark, discipline is the fire that keeps burning when the spark fades. Every dreamer faces the same truth. You won't always be inspired. You won't always be confident. You won't always be ready. But you can always be committed. The tale of Kobe Bryant. At 4 a.m., while the world slept, Kobe Bryant was already drenched in sweat. He wasn't training for applause. He was training for greatness. Teammates often told stories of how he'd practice for hours before team sessions began, shooting the same move hundreds of times until it became muscle memory. When asked what separated him from others, Kobe said, I never got bored with the basics. That's the heart of discipline, falling in love with repetition. Because the secret of mastery is not doing more things. It's doing the right things long enough that they become a part of who you are. Greatness isn't luck. It's lifestyle. Dreams demand structure. Everyone dreams of freedom, of doing what they love, living on their own terms. But freedom isn't the absence of structure. It's the reward for mastering it. Discipline gives you control, not just over your time, but over your mind. Without it, your dreams become prisoners of impulse. With it, you turn chaos into creation. Structure is not restriction, it's scaffolding. It holds your dreams steady while you build something that lasts. Think of a musician. Behind every breathtaking performance are endless hours of scales, drills, and rehearsals. Think of an athlete. Behind every medal is a lifetime of repetition. Think of an author. Behind every bestseller are lonely nights of rewriting the same sentence until it sings. Discipline is the quiet backbone behind every extraordinary life. When no one is watching. The truest test of discipline isn't what you do when the world is clapping. It's what you do when the world is silent. It's showing up when you're tired, writing when you have nothing to say, running when your legs ache, studying when your mind wants to rest. Those unseen hours are the currency of your destiny. Each one invested, a brick in the foundation of your dream. You won't always see the progress, but you'll feel it. And one day, the world will too. Because discipline has a delayed applause. The world cheers you later for what you built when they weren't looking. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. In a small town in Japan, there's a man named Jiro Ono, often called the greatest sushi chef in the world. His restaurant, Skiyabashi Jiro, earned 3 Michelin stars. But what's remarkable isn't the sushi, it's the story behind it. For over 60 years, Jiro has done the same thing every day. He wakes before dawn, goes to the market to inspect fish, sharpens his knives with monk-like precision, and refines his craft. He once said, once you decide on your occupation, you must immerse yourself in your work. You have to fall in love with your daily routine. That's discipline, devotion to excellence, even in the ordinary. It's not glamorous. It's sacred. When you practice something long enough with love and focus, it transforms you. Discipline doesn't just shape your habits. It shapes your character. Discipline is a language of respect. When you keep promises to yourself, you build trust within. Every time you follow through, your mind whispers, I can rely on you. That's how confidence is built. Not through success, but through self-respect. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they break small promises to themselves every day. I'll start tomorrow. I'll skip just this once. I'll try when I feel ready. Each broken promise chips away at your inner strength. Discipline is the opposite. It's an act of self-love. It says, I deserve the effort required to become who I'm meant to be. When you live like that, you stop chasing validation. You start emanating power. Pain, progress, and patience. Discipline hurts, not because it's wrong, but because it's real. It demands sacrifice, patience, and endurance in a world addicted to shortcuts. But pain is the price of progress. Growth never feels graceful while it's happening. When you push through resistance, your limits expand. When you delay gratification, your confidence multiplies. Discipline teaches you the quiet joy of patience. The satisfaction of planting seeds and trusting that they will bloom, even when the soil looks barren. The oak tree doesn't apologize for taking time to grow. Neither should you. The blueprint of discipline. To make your dreams non-negotiable, Anchor them in daily structure. Here's a framework to live by. 1. Ritualize the routine. Make your goals part of your rhythm. Do it at the same time, same place. Consistency beats intensity. 2. Start small, stay steady. Success isn't built by massive leaps, but by micro movements repeated endlessly. 3. Guard your focus. Eliminate distractions ruthlessly. What you give your attention to becomes your reality. 4. Track the wins. Small victories fuel big momentum. Celebrate progress, not perfection. 5. Stay humble, stay hungry. The day you think you've made it is the day you stop growing. Discipline isn't punishment, it's preparation. It trains you for the moment your opportunity arrives. The story of Serena Williams. Serena didn't become a legend because she had talent. She became a legend because she refused to stop refining that talent. Rain or shine, win or loss, she showed up. When she was injured, she studied tapes. When she was exhausted, she practiced her serve again and again until it was flawless. She once said, "Luck has nothing to do with it, because I've spent countless hours on the court working for my one moment." That's what separates dreamers from doers. Dreamers talk about what they want. Doers train for what they want. And that training, that discipline, turns vision into victory. The inner battle. Your biggest battle will never be against the world. It will be against your weaker self. That voice that whispers, "Skip it today. You deserve a break. No one's watching anyway." That's the enemy of destiny. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about showing up again and again, even after you stumble. The strongest warriors are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who rise every single time they do. Discipline and freedom. At first, discipline feels like a cage. But eventually, it becomes your wings. Because once you master yourself, nothing outside can control you. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want. Freedom is being able to do what you must when it matters most. When your habits align with your dreams, discipline stops being effort. It becomes expression. You stop forcing progress. You start flowing with purpose. That's when you realize discipline was never the enemy of freedom. It was the door to it. Key takeaways. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Motivation fades. Discipline endures. Freedom is born from structure, not the absence of it. Every act of consistency builds self-trust and self-respect. Discipline transforms ordinary habits into extraordinary outcomes. Action step/challenge. For the next 21 days, commit to one discipline that aligns with your dream, even if it's small. Wake up earlier, write 1 page a day, run a mile, practice your skill, meditate, study, but do it every single day. Keep a simple journal of your consistency. Each tick mark is proof that you're becoming stronger than your excuses. Because when discipline becomes your habit, destiny becomes your nature. Chapter 6. Battles Within. Every dreamer, at some point, faces the same invisible war. Not against critics, not against circumstances, but against the voice within. That whisper that says, "You're not ready. You're not good enough. You'll never make it." These aren't just words. They're the echoes of fear, failure, comparison, and past pain. The unseen chains that hold countless people hostage to mediocrity. The greatest battles are never fought on stages or in boardrooms. They're fought in silence. Between who you are and who you're meant to be. The enemy within. You can conquer mountains, build empires, and overcome all odds, and still be defeated by your own mind. Because the mind is both your greatest weapon and your fiercest opponent. Every day, it's at war. Your higher self, driven by purpose, passion, and possibility, faces off against your lower self, driven by fear, comfort, and self-doubt. It's a battle of belief versus resistance, progress versus procrastination, courage versus comfort. And the battlefield? Your thoughts. The story of David Goggins, the war of the mind. There was a time when David Goggins weighed nearly 300 pounds. Working as a pest control technician, eating donuts between shifts, drowning in self-hate and excuses. One night, he watched a documentary about Navy SEALs, and something cracked open inside him. He decided he wanted to become one. Everyone laughed. He wasn't athletic. He wasn't disciplined. He wasn't even close. But Goggins wasn't fighting the SEAL training yet. He was fighting himself. He had to lose over 100 pounds in 3 months to even qualify. So, he started waking up at 4 a.m., running until his legs bled, studying until he passed out. He said, "The hardest part wasn't running. It was shutting up the voice that told me to quit." That's the war every dreamer fights. Not against external limits, but against internal ones. You can't win the outer game until you master the inner one. Self-doubt, the silent assassin. Self-doubt doesn't scream. It whispers. It sounds reasonable. It disguises itself as logic, caution, or realism. It tells you to wait. Until you're ready. Until it's perfect. Until you feel more confident. But readiness never comes. Confidence doesn't appear magically. It's built through action. Self-doubt has robbed more people of their destiny than failure ever could. Because failure teaches, doubt paralyzes. The truth? Everyone doubts themselves. The difference is, champions act anyway. The inner saboteurs. Your mind hosts a cast of inner voices, each one trying to steer you. The critic, you're not enough. The victim, life is unfair. The procrastinator, tomorrow will be better. The perfectionist, if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. They sound convincing. They sound safe. But they are dream killers dressed as comfort. To win your inner battle, you must name these voices. And then overrule them. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. The story of J.K. Rowling, rejection and resilience. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, J.K. Rowling was a single mother, jobless, and living off welfare. She sent her manuscript to 12 publishers. All rejected her. Some didn't even bother replying. Her inner voice could have easily said, "Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not good enough." But instead, she whispered back, "I will prove them wrong." She didn't win the battle overnight. She won it one page, one rejection, one rewrite at a time. That's what the battles within really are. A daily decision to fight for your future, even when the world says no. The psychology of inner resistance. Every dream creates internal resistance. Your brain hates change because change threatens survival. That's why it resists new habits, big risks, and uncertain futures. Not because you're weak, but because your biology is wired to keep you safe. But safe doesn't mean happy. Safe doesn't mean fulfilled. It just means comfortable. And comfort kills dreams quietly, not with a bang, but with a slow surrender. Growth begins the moment you stop negotiating with your limitations. You can't think your way into confidence. You act your way into it. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage isn't about being fearless. It's about being afraid and moving anyway. It's standing on the edge of the unknown, hearing every voice in your head telling you to step back, and choosing to jump. That's what every great dreamer does. They don't silence fear. They transform it into focus. Because fear is energy. If you run from it, it consumes you. If you harness it, it propels you. The mirror moment. At some point in every journey, you will face the mirror. Not the one that reflects your face, but the one that reflects your truth. You'll see the gap between who you are and who you could be. That realization will hurt, but it will also heal. Because awareness is the first step toward freedom. Most people avoid that mirror their whole lives. They stay busy, distracted, numb. But dreamers? They face it, and they ask the hard questions. What am I afraid of? What lie have I been telling myself? What excuses have I accepted as truth? That's where transformation begins. In brutal honesty, the art of inner mastery. Mastering your inner world means creating emotional discipline. It means not believing every thought, not reacting to every feeling, not surrendering to every doubt. It's training your mind the way an athlete trains their body, with repetition, resistance, and rest. Start your mornings with intention. Guard your environment like your energy depends on it, because it does. Replace negative self-talk with affirmations that build your identity. Your mind is programmable. Feed it possibility, and it will produce power. When you're your own enemy, sometimes it's not the world holding you back. It's you. You sabotage opportunities because you fear failure. You shrink your light because you fear judgment. You quit too soon because you fear being ordinary. But the truth is, you're not afraid of failing. You're afraid of becoming everything you're capable of, because that would require you to leave behind the version of you that feels familiar. Growth is uncomfortable because you're shedding an identity. But that's how transformation works. You cannot become who you're meant to be while clinging to who you used to be. The story of Oprah Winfrey, turning pain into power. Before she became a media icon, Oprah was told she wasn't fit for television. She was fired from her first job as a news anchor. Her childhood was filled with trauma, abuse, and rejection. But she refused to be defined by what happened to her. She decided to rise from it. She once said, "You get in life what you have the courage to ask for." That's the essence of inner victory, transforming pain into power and fear into fuel, winning the daily battle. Every day, you wake up to two voices. One that says, "Stay where you are," and another that says, "There's more in you, rise." Which one wins? The one you feed. Feed your doubts, and they'll starve your dreams. Feed your faith, and your fears will fade. Winning the battle within isn't about never falling. It's about rising faster every time you do. Key takeaways. The greatest battles are fought within your own mind, not outside it. Fear, doubt, and resistance are natural, but they are not truth. Self-mastery begins when you stop believing every negative thought. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in spite of it. The more you win small battles within, the stronger your outer world becomes. Action step/challenge. For the next 7 days, observe your inner dialogue. Every time a thought of doubt, fear, or limitation arises, write it down. Then, write the truth next to it. For example, thought, "I'm not good enough." Truth, "I'm growing stronger every day." Thought, "What if I fail?" Truth, "Failure is a teacher, not a verdict." By rewriting your inner language, you reprogram your reality. Because once you win the battle within, the outer world has no power to stop you. Chapter 7. The Circle of Influence. Every dream begins with one person, but it never grows alone. The world loves the idea of the self-made man or woman, the lone warrior who fought through storms with no help and conquered the world. It's a beautiful myth, but a myth nonetheless. No one climbs a mountain without being lifted by someone's belief, someone's encouragement, or even someone's doubt that fuels their fire. Who you surround yourself with, the voices you listen to, the energy you absorb, will either water your dreams or poison them. Your environment is not just where you live. It's what lives around you. And your circle shapes your ceiling. The unseen power of energy. Everything and everyone carries energy. Some people light you up. Others drain you. Have you ever left a conversation feeling 10 feet tall, ready to take on the world? And another, feeling small, doubtful, and heavy, as if someone had quietly unplugged your spirit? That's not coincidence. That's influence. You become like the people you spend the most time with. Their words, their habits, their attitudes. They don't just rub off on you, they rewrite you. If you walk with warriors, you'll start thinking in victories. If you walk with doubters, you'll start collecting excuses. Your future is being negotiated in every conversation you have. The Jim Rohn Principle. Jim Rohn once said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with." It sounds simple, but it's one of the most profound truths about personal growth. If your 5 closest people complain, gossip, and fear change, you'll unconsciously absorb their language, their limits, their lifestyle. But if your circle dreams, dares, and does, you'll rise without even trying. You cannot build $1 million mindset while hanging around 10-cent conversations. The story of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, the power of partnership. Before Apple became a trillion-dollar empire, it began in a small Los Altos garage, with 2 friends who saw the world differently and believed they could change it. Steve Jobs had the vision, the fire, the imagination that refused to settle. Steve Wozniak had the genius, the quiet brilliance that turned dreams into designs. They were different, one a dreamer, the other a builder. But together, they became unstoppable. Because the right partnership doesn't just amplify your skills, it amplifies your courage. They challenged each other. They argued. They pushed each other's limits. And from that friction, a spark became a revolution. The 2 kinds of circles. Not every circle supports your dreams. And not every friend is meant to go where you're going. There are 2 kinds of people in your journey. 1. The builders. They see your potential before you do. They challenge you, celebrate your progress, and remind you of who you are when you forget. Their presence is a mirror reflecting your greatness. 2. The breakers. They love you as long as you stay small. They shrink your dreams, disguise their envy as concern, and pull you back when you start flying. The builders push you toward destiny. The breakers pull you back toward comfort. You can love both. but you can't walk with both. The story of Malala Yousafzai, the circle that saved her life. Malala, the Pakistani activist who fought for girls' education, was just 15 when she was shot in the head by the Taliban for speaking out. The world knows her courage. But what many don't realize is the power of her circle. Her father, Ziauddin Yousafzai, wasn't just her supporter. He was her foundation. He told her from a young age, "Don't ask me what I let you do. Ask yourself what you're brave enough to do." When the world told her to be silent, her father, her teachers, her friends whispered, "Speak louder." Her courage was born in the soil of belief. Belief given by those who surrounded her. That's what the right circle does. It gives you wings when the world tries to clip them. Protecting your energy. You can't control who talks to you, but you can control who gets to stay. Every day, people deposit energy into your mind. Some uplifting, some toxic. You must learn to be the guardian of your focus. Your dreams are too precious to let gossip, negativity, and doubt pollute them. Ask yourself, who makes me feel more alive? Who drains my energy? Who believes in my vision even when it's invisible? Be ruthless with your energy, not heartless, but ruthless. You can't pour from an empty cup. If you want to fly, you must stop giving your wings to people who prefer to crawl. Mentors and mirrors. Sometimes, your circle won't be your friends. It'll be mentors you've never met. A book, a podcast, a YouTube video, a story. These can become your virtual circle of influence. You can learn discipline from David Goggins, compassion from Brené Brown, vision from Elon Musk, humility from Nelson Mandela. You can borrow courage from their stories until you grow your own. If you don't have a circle that inspires you, create one through what you consume. Because influence is not just physical, it's psychological. What you watch, read, and listen to is quietly shaping who you're becoming. The story of an unknown hero, the quiet supporter. There was a boy named Rehan, born in a small village in South Asia, where dreams were considered a luxury. He wanted to be a filmmaker, but his family wanted him to work in the fields. When he told his teacher, he expected ridicule. Instead, the teacher said, "Show me what you can create." That single sentence became Rehan's anchor. He saved money, borrowed a camera, made a short film, and 10 years later, his documentaries were screened at international festivals. He says, "I had no investors, no equipment, no support, except one teacher who believed I could." Sometimes, one person believing in you is more powerful than 1,000 people doubting you. The law of association. You cannot hang around negative people and expect a positive life. You cannot walk with complainers and expect gratitude. You cannot sit with dream killers and expect courage. Your associations either raise or lower your vibration. Every friendship is either an investment or an expense. When you elevate, you will intimidate. Not because you're better, but because you're breaking patterns others are still comfortable in. And that's okay. Growth often requires distance. Love them, but move forward anyway. Because sometimes, you must leave the table where your worth is questioned, to sit at the one where your purpose is celebrated. Building a new circle. When you start chasing your dreams, you'll attract two kinds of people. Those who clap for your rise, and those who question it. Don't waste time convincing the second group. Use that energy to build with the first. Join communities of dreamers. Surround yourself with people who talk about goals, not gossip. Find those who make your future feel possible. Because success is contagious. And so is mediocrity. The choice is yours. The inner circle of you. But let's go deeper. The most influential circle you'll ever have is not external, it's internal. Your inner circle consists of the voices that live within you. Faith, fear, gratitude, self-doubt, confidence, and purpose. You can't control who walks into your life, but you can control who takes the mic in your mind. Start amplifying the voices that remind you of your worth. Because your dream depends not only on who stands beside you, but who stands within you. Key takeaways. You are the average of the energy you allow around you. The right people will challenge, not comfort you. Your environment shapes your mindset more than your motivation does. Distance from negativity is self-care, not arrogance. Build your circle intentionally, online, offline, and within. Action step/challenge. This week, write down the 5 people you spend the most time with. Then, ask yourself, do they lift me higher or drain my energy? Do they challenge me to grow or comfort me to stay? Would I trade habits, mindset, or attitude with them? If the answer is no, it's time to expand your circle. Because your destiny is not just shaped by your decisions, but by your associations. And when your circle is filled with fire, you won't just dream, you'll ignite. Chapter 8. Fail Forward. Failure. The word itself tastes bitter on the tongue. A whisper of shame, a tightening in the chest, a shadow that lurks behind every bold dream. We're taught from childhood to avoid it, to hide it, to fear it like a plague. We're told it's the opposite of success, as if one cancels the other out. But the truth? Failure is not the opposite of success. It's the foundation of it. Every empire stands on ruins first. Every champion has tasted defeat more times than victory. And every person who ever did something great has failed, fallen, and gotten back up one more time than they fell. The fear of falling. Let's be honest. No one wants to fail. Failure hurts. It bruises the ego, dents the pride, and sometimes shatters your belief in yourself. But here's what most people don't realize. The fear of failure often does more damage than failure itself. Fear stops you before you even start. Failure teaches you after you've begun. Fear paralyzes. Failure propels. When you fail, you learn. When you learn, you grow. When you grow, you rise. That's the sacred sequence. The rhythm of every great life ever lived. The story of Thomas Edison, 10,000 ways that didn't work. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb in one spark of genius. He discovered 10,000 ways that didn't work. When a journalist once mocked him for his countless failures, Edison smiled and said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Think about that mindset. For most people, one failure means the end. For Edison, 10,000 failures meant he was closer to the truth. That's what failing forward means. You don't fall backward into despair. You fall forward into wisdom. The growth that hides inside loss. Every failure carries two things, pain and a lesson. Most people only meet the pain. The few who rise, they look for the lesson. Failure strips you bare. It forces you to see who you are when the applause stops, when the plan collapses, when the world goes quiet. That's where you meet your rawest self. The one not polished by success, but sharpened by survival. You'll never know your strength by avoiding failure. You only discover it when you're tested by it. The story of J.K. Rowling, rejection, rock bottom, and the rise. Before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, J.K. Rowling was a single mother living on welfare. She'd been rejected by 12 publishers. Her manuscript was turned down, mocked, and dismissed. She was told her story wouldn't sell, but she kept writing. Not because she was sure she'd succeed, but because she refused to stop dreaming. When the 13th publisher finally accepted her book, it didn't just launch a story, it launched a legacy. Rowling later said, "Rock bottom became the solid foundation on which I rebuilt my life." That's what failure can do. If you let it become a teacher, not a tombstone. Why we avoid failing. We live in a world obsessed with perfection. Perfect grades, perfect careers, perfect lives on Instagram. But perfection is the enemy of progress. Because to be perfect, you can't risk. To be perfect, you can't grow. And to be perfect, you can't live. We've become so afraid of looking foolish that we stop ourselves from flying. But every great leap begins with a stumble. Every great dancer has tripped. Every great speaker has stuttered. Every great leader has fallen. Perfection is a mask. Progress is the truth. Failing forward, the mindset shift. To fail forward means to extract growth from loss. It's choosing curiosity over shame and resilience over regret. When something doesn't work, ask, what is this trying to teach me? When a door closes, ask, what new direction am I being pushed toward? When you're knocked down, ask, how can I rise stronger from this? Every failure carries feedback. Every setback hides strategy. Every fall can be fuel. But you only see it when you stop seeing yourself as broken and start seeing yourself as becoming. The story of Walt Disney, fired for lack of imagination. Before he built his empire of dreams, Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper job. His editor told him he lacked imagination and had no good ideas. Imagine that. The man who would go on to create Mickey Mouse, Disneyland, and A Billion Smiles, was told he wasn't creative enough. But instead of giving up, he doubled down on his vision. He said, all the adversity I've had in my life, all my troubles and obstacles, have strengthened me. You may not realize it when it happens, But a kick in the teeth may be the best thing in the world for you. Walt didn't just dream, he dared to fail forward. And every setback became a stepping stone to magic. The physics of failure. Failure is not a stop sign, it's a signal. Think of a rocket launching into space. Before it breaks through the atmosphere, it shakes, burns, and sheds tons of debris. If you didn't understand the process, you might think it's falling apart, when in truth, it's breaking free. Your journey works the same way. When everything feels like it's collapsing, you might just be shedding what can't survive where you're going. The burn is not the end, it's the beginning of flight. The hidden gift of humility. Failure doesn't just build resilience. It builds humility. It teaches you empathy for others struggling through their own storms. It makes you kinder, softer, wiser. Because when you've fallen, you stop judging those who are still on the ground. You start seeing the strength in trying, the courage in vulnerability, the beauty in imperfection. That humility becomes your quiet power. The story of Michael Jordan, the GOAT who missed. Michael Jordan, the greatest basketball player of all time, was once cut from his high school team. He used that pain as fuel. He said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times, I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed." Jordan's success wasn't in avoiding failure. It was in accumulating it. He failed forward, one miss at a time, until each failure became muscle memory for greatness. When you fall like this. Fall honestly. Don't hide it. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't drown in it. Feel the pain, but don't build a house there. Get up, dust off, learn the lesson, and then move forward with twice the wisdom. Failure is not your identity. It's an event, not a definition. Every fall is proof you tried. Every scar is evidence you cared enough to chase something. The only real failure is never trying at all. The art of resilience. Resilience isn't being unbreakable. It's being the one who rebuilds after breaking. It's the quiet strength of showing up again, even when your confidence is cracked and your hope is tired. Resilience says, "Yes, I fell, but I'm still standing." It's not loud. It's not glamorous. It's raw. It's human. It's divine. And every time you rise, you expand what's possible, not just for you, but for everyone watching you. Failing forward in everyday life. You don't have to be a celebrity, inventor, or athlete to fail forward. Every time you apply for a job you don't get, start a business that doesn't take off, love someone who doesn't love you back, speak up and get silenced, try again after being disappointed, you are practicing the sacred art of failing forward. Because failure doesn't mean it's over. It means you're still in the game. And as long as you're still in the game, victory is still possible. Key takeaways. Failure is not the opposite of success. It's the path to it. Every failure contains a lesson, a redirection, or a new version of you. The fear of failure destroys more dreams than failure ever could. You either win or you learn. There's no losing if you keep growing. Resilience is not about never falling. It's about never staying down. Action step/challenge. Reflect on your last major failure. Write down 3 things it taught you. 1. What strength did it reveal in you? 2. What clarity did it give you about your direction? 3. How did it prepare you for what came next? Then, make yourself a promise. From now on, I will not fear failure. I will fail forward. Because the greatest tragedies are not the falls we take, but the flights we never attempt. Chapter 9. Momentum Matters. There's a hidden force that separates dreamers who talk from dreamers who build. It isn't luck. It isn't even talent. It's momentum. Momentum is the quiet, invisible current that carries you forward when motivation runs dry. It's the rhythm of progress, that steady, relentless heartbeat that says, "I'm still moving. I'm still becoming." Anyone can start. If you keep going. Starting is an act of courage. Continuing is an act of commitment. And that's where dreams live or die, in the space after the excitement fades. The spark and the grind. Every dream begins in fire. You feel unstoppable. The world feels alive. You tell yourself, "This time, I'm going all in." But then comes the second act. The one no one posts about. The quiet mornings when you're tired. The days when results don't match the effort. The lonely hours when you wonder if anyone even sees what you're building. That's when the dream tests you. Momentum doesn't thrive on excitement. It thrives on discipline. Motivation is emotion. Momentum is motion. And when you keep moving, even when you don't feel like it, you cross from dreamer to doer, from wishful to unstoppable. The story of Serena Williams, motion over mood. Serena Williams didn't win 23 Grand Slam titles because she woke up every day feeling inspired. She trained on days she was tired, sore, frustrated, and human. In one interview, she said, "I don't have to be the best every day. I just have to show up." That's it. That's the secret. Show up. Momentum is built in the showing up. Every workout, every page, every practice. Even the ones that feel like nothing. They stack. They accumulate. They compound. And one day, that quiet accumulation erupts into greatness. The compounding effect. Here's the truth about success that no one glamorizes. It doesn't arrive in a lightning bolt. It builds like rain. Drip by drip. Day by day. The author who writes a paragraph today and another tomorrow. The athlete who trains when no one is watching. The musician who plays one more song after everyone leaves the room. That's how momentum grows. Through consistency, not intensity. You don't need to sprint every day. You just need to move. Even a slow step forward beats standing still. Because momentum has memory. Once it's built, it carries you farther than you imagined. The story of Dwayne, "The Rock," Johnson, from rejection to relentless. Before he became one of the highest paid actors in Hollywood, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's life fell apart. He was cut from his football career. He had $7 to his name. 7. But he refused to stop moving. He said, "I was broke, but I wasn't broken." He trained harder. He wrestled in empty arenas. He gave everything, even when no one was watching. Momentum didn't arrive as fame. It arrived as discipline. That discipline became a lifestyle. That lifestyle became energy. That energy became legacy. When motivation dies, let's talk about the hard part. There will come days when you feel nothing. No fire. No focus. No reason. You'll stare at the dream you once loved and wonder why it suddenly feels like work. That's normal. That's human. Motivation is like weather. It changes. But momentum is like gravity. It pulls you forward regardless. So when motivation fades, rely on systems. Don't ask, "Do I feel like it?" Ask, "What's the next step?" Because momentum doesn't care about how you feel. It responds to what you do. The psychology of forward motion. Psychologists call it the progress principle. Our brains release dopamine, the feel-good chemical. Not just when we reach a goal, but when we see progress. That means you don't need massive wins every day. You just need visible movement. Check something off. Finish a small task. Take one next step. Progress is addictive, but only if you start moving. And here's the secret. Once you move, your emotions catch up. Action creates clarity. Clarity creates energy. Energy creates momentum. You don't think your way into feeling better. You move your way into it. The story of Nick Vujicic, no limbs, no limits. Nick Vujicic was born without arms or legs. He faced relentless bullying, isolation, and depression. But instead of letting pain define him, he chose to define pain. He said, "If you can't get a miracle, become one." He began speaking, first to small groups, then to stadiums. Today, he's inspired millions across the globe. His story is proof that momentum isn't about physical ability. It's about mental endurance. He didn't have limbs, but he had vision. He didn't have ease, but he had effort. Momentum begins not when everything is perfect, but when you decide to move anyway. When you lose the rhythm. Momentum doesn't mean you'll never fall off track. You will. You'll miss days. You'll lose focus. You'll stumble. And that's okay, because the only real mistake is stopping completely. Don't restart from scratch. Restart from experience. Pick up where you left off. Momentum doesn't forget you. It waits for you. Forgive yourself for the pause. Then return to the rhythm. Because the moment you start again, you're already rebuilding speed. Momentum loves movement. Ever push a heavy car? At first, it doesn't budge. You lean harder, and it groans. You dig in, every muscle straining. And suddenly, it moves an inch. Then another. Then another. Soon, it's rolling on its own. That's how dreams work. The hardest push is the first one. But once you're in motion, momentum carries you farther than effort alone ever could. Keep pushing. The roll is coming. The story of Steve Jobs, momentum through vision. When Steve Jobs was fired from Apple, the company he founded, he could have disappeared. Instead, he started again. He built next. He invested in Pixar. And when Apple was struggling years later, they brought him back. His comeback didn't happen overnight. It happened because he kept moving forward, even through humiliation and heartbreak. He once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future." Momentum connects those dots. It turns chaos into clarity. It turns detours into destiny. Momentum in your life. Think about your dream. What if you didn't need to finish it today? What if all you needed was to start again today? Momentum isn't built on giant leaps. It's built on consistent steps. Write one paragraph. Make one call. Do one workout. Take one uncomfortable action. That's how the great ones rise. Not through massive breakthroughs, but through daily, quiet persistence. The silent law of momentum. Momentum rewards the doer, not the dreamer. It says, "I will carry you farther than your strength, but only if you give me a push." It's like the wind. You can't see it, but once you catch it, it'll move you faster than effort ever could. But if you stand still, even the strongest wind can't lift you. The law is simple: move, and momentum moves with you. The story of everyday heroes. Momentum isn't reserved for icons. It lives in everyday warriors. The single mother who studies after midnight to build a better life. The student who keeps applying after a dozen rejections. The man who starts walking again after heartbreak. The artist who posts her work even when no one likes it. These are the unsung legends of momentum. Quietly building greatness one day at a time. Because sometimes, persistence is louder than talent. When momentum becomes mastery, something magical happens when you stay consistent long enough. What once felt like effort becomes identity. The writer becomes a writer. The athlete becomes a champion. The dreamer becomes a doer. That's mastery. Not perfection, repetition. Repetition rewires your brain. It ingrains resilience. It transforms action into art. You no longer push yourself forward. Momentum pulls you upward. Momentum is faith in motion. Momentum is not just movement. It's belief made visible. It says, "I trust that this small step will take me somewhere great." Even when you can't see the finish line, keep walking. Even when you can't feel the fire, keep fueling it. Even when no one claps, keep climbing. Because somewhere ahead, maybe closer than you think, momentum is about to make your impossible inevitable. Key takeaways. Motivation starts you. Momentum sustains you. Progress compounds through small, consistent steps. Don't wait for motivation. Build systems that make action automatic. When you lose rhythm, restart, not from scratch, but from experience. Consistency transforms effort into identity and momentum into mastery. Action step/challenge. Take one small step today toward your goal, no matter how small. Do it especially if you don't feel ready or motivated. Then tomorrow, take another, and another. For 7 days straight, focus on motion over mood. At the end of the week, reflect on how momentum has shifted your energy, because it always does. Chapter 10. Mastery over mindset. There's a moment in every journey when the real battle begins, not out there in the world, but inside your own mind. The first steps of a dream are exciting. You feel unstoppable. The vision is clear, the fire is bright. But then, reality shows up. Doubts creep in. The progress slows. The applause fades. And suddenly, you realize, this is no longer about the dream itself. It's about the mind that carries it. This is where the heroes are separated from the hopeful. This is where the dreamers who finish their story rise above the ones who stop halfway. Because mastery over mindset isn't about thinking positive. It's about leading your mind, not being led by it. The war inside. Michael Jordan once said, "I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. I've failed over and over and over again in my life. And that is why I succeed." Those weren't words from a man who had it easy. Those were the words of someone who had mastered the inner dialogue between self-doubt and self-discipline. Because here's the truth. Your greatest opponent isn't fear or failure or the competition. It's you, your distracted, doubting, comfort-seeking self. Every morning, your mind will whisper reasons to wait, to rest, to hide, to do it tomorrow. It will protect you from discomfort, even if it costs you your destiny. The ancient samurai had a phrase, "Victory is won within." Before they ever lifted a sword, they trained the battlefield of thought, learning to face fear, chaos, and uncertainty with stillness. Because they knew that clarity of mind is clarity in battle. Your dream demands the same. If your mind is cluttered with doubt, the world will mirror it back to you as chaos. But if your mind is calm, disciplined, and directed, no obstacle can shake you for long. The noise of negativity. Think about how often you talk yourself out of greatness. How many times have you said, "I'm not ready. What if it doesn't work? People will judge me. I'm just not that kind of person." That's not reality speaking. That's conditioning. The voice in your head that doubts your power isn't you. It's an echo, formed by fears, failures, and the opinions of others. When a child learns to walk, they fall hundreds of times. Not once do they think, "Maybe walking isn't for me." They rise. They wobble. They fall again. But they keep going because they haven't yet learned the language of limitation. We adults, we become fluent in it. We let rejection define us. We let comfort seduce us. We let the noise of the world drown out the whisper of purpose. Mindset mastery begins when you stop believing every thought that passes through your mind. You are not your doubts. You are the observer of them, and the leader beyond them. The science of thought. Neuroscience has revealed something extraordinary. The brain is not fixed. It's plastic, malleable, continuously rewiring itself based on what you focus on and repeat. Every time you say, "I can't," you strengthen the neural pathway of limitation. Every time you say, "I will figure it out," you carve a new one of possibility. It's not magic, it's wiring. Your thoughts create patterns. Patterns create habits. Habits create results. Change the thought, and you change the direction of your life. So, when you wake up tomorrow, before reaching for your phone, before the noise of the world claims your attention, take a moment. Breathe. Choose one thought intentionally. Maybe it's, "Today I rise." Maybe it's, "I am built for more." Maybe it's simply, "I can." Because a single empowered thought repeated daily becomes a belief. And beliefs build empires. The art of emotional mastery. Mastery over mindset isn't about suppressing emotion, it's about mastering it. You can't stop fear from knocking, but you can decide who opens the door. You can't control disappointment, but you can choose what it teaches you. Every emotion is energy. Fear is just energy without direction. Turn it into courage, and it becomes fuel. Anger is energy unprocessed. Channel it into discipline, and it becomes fire. Sadness is energy unexpressed. Transform it into compassion, and it becomes healing. Mindset mastery is the art of transmutation, of turning pain into power. When Thomas Edison's laboratory burned down, destroying years of experiments, he didn't collapse. He said, "Thank God all our mistakes burned. Now we can start fresh." That's not positivity. That's mental leadership. Because your emotions will obey the meaning you assign them. You can say, "This setback is proof I'm not enough." Or you can say, "This is the moment I rise." Both stories are available. Only one sets you free. The 1% rule. Mindset mastery isn't achieved in a day. It's built in moments, small, consistent victories of self-command. The goal is not perfection. It's progress. Commit to improving your mindset just 1% each day. 1% more discipline. 1% more gratitude. 1% less reaction. 1% more focus on what you can control. That 1%, compounded over time, rewires your life. If you meditate 5 minutes more today than yesterday, you're mastering your focus. If you resist one unnecessary argument, you're mastering your emotions. If you take one step forward when fear says, "Wait," you're mastering your courage. That's how legends are built, not in giant leaps, but in daily inches. Story: The Monk and the Mountain. A young monk once asked his master, "How do I conquer the mountain of fear before me?" The master smiled and said, "You don't conquer the mountain. You conquer yourself." The monk frowned. "But the mountain is so high." The master replied, "The mountain is only as high as your mind makes it." Every day, the monk climbed, a little higher, a little stronger. Some days he slipped. Some days he fell. But each morning, he began again. When he finally reached the top, he realized something profound. The mountain hadn't changed. He had. And that's the essence of mindset mastery. Life doesn't get easier. You get stronger. The storms don't stop. You just learn how to dance in the rain. The 3 pillars of mastery. 1. Self-awareness. You cannot master what you don't understand. Know your triggers, your fears, your patterns. The moment you name them, they lose their power. 2. Self-discipline. The mind is a wild horse. Discipline is the reins. Every time you choose long-term growth over short-term comfort, you take the lead. 3. Self-belief. Belief is not arrogance. It's trust in your preparation and purpose. When you believe deeply enough, the world bends to your conviction. The still mind. Imagine standing in front of a lake. When the water is turbulent, you can't see your reflection. But when it's still, you can see everything clearly. That's the power of a still mind. It doesn't react. It responds. The greatest athletes, leaders, and creators cultivate this calm, the ability to remain steady amid chaos. That's why meditation, breath work, and solitude aren't luxuries. They're training. You're not escaping the world. You're strengthening your focus within it. A still mind isn't weak. It's a weapon sharpened by silence. Real power is internal. In a world obsessed with appearances, followers, fame, validation, true power is quiet. It doesn't shout. It radiates. People with mastered minds don't need to prove anything. They walk with peace because they no longer chase approval. They know who they are, and that certainty is magnetic. You can feel it when someone walks into a room with inner peace. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. Because when your thoughts, emotions, and actions move in harmony, you become unstoppable. Key takeaways. Your greatest battle is within. Master your mind, and the world follows. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer who chooses which ones to feed. Emotions are energy. Transform them. Don't suppress them. Progress, not perfection. 1% mindset growth each day compounds into greatness. Stillness is strength. Discipline is freedom. Belief is power. Action step/challenge for the reader. For the next 7 days, practice mind leadership. Each morning, write down one empowering thought you will lead with. Each night, reflect on how often your thoughts tried to lead you and how often you led them instead. By the end of the week, you'll notice something powerful. The noise in your mind will start to quiet. The clarity will rise. And you'll feel, maybe for the first time, that you are no longer a passenger of thought. You are the driver. Because dreamers think, but doers lead their minds. And that is true mastery. Chapter 11. Purpose and passion, aligning your dreams with meaning. There comes a moment in every dreamer's journey when the question shifts from "Can I do this?" to "Why am I doing this?" That's where the fire either fades or becomes eternal. Because passion without purpose is a flame that burns out. But passion with purpose? That's the kind of fire that burns through storms, silence, and sleepless nights. It's the quiet force behind every lasting legacy. The thing that makes a dream not just achievable, but meaningful. The moment it all clicks. Years ago, there was a man named Ravi. He worked 12-hour shifts in a glass-walled corporate tower, steady pay, clean suit, a corner desk. From the outside, he looked successful. But inside, he was suffocating. Every day felt like another page in a story he didn't want to be part of. One evening, while waiting for a cab, he saw a child selling handmade bookmarks by the roadside. Thin paper, shaky handwriting, and one small quote scribbled across the top. Dream big. Not for what you get, but for who you become. That line hit him like lightning. Ravi bought the bookmark for 20 rupees, went home, and stared at it for hours. He realized he'd been chasing promotions, not purpose, climbing a ladder that leaned against the wrong wall. 2 years later, Ravi quit his job and founded a nonprofit that helps underprivileged children access education. He earns less money now, but his eyes are alive again. Every day, he wakes up with clarity, because now his why burns brighter than any how. The hidden engine of purpose. Here's the truth. Dreams built on ego will eventually collapse. Dreams built on meaning, they outlast us. Purpose isn't a destination, it's a direction. It's not about what you do, it's about why you do it. You don't find purpose by looking outside yourself. You uncover it by listening inside, to the whisper that says, "There's more to life than this." That whisper doesn't always roar. Sometimes, it's buried under years of noise, fear, expectations, bills, comparisons. But once you start peeling those layers, something beautiful appears, clarity. And that clarity is freedom. Freedom to say no to the things that drain you. Freedom to build the life that calls you. Passion is the spark. Purpose is the fuel. Passion gets you started. Purpose keeps you going. Think about the world's greatest dreamers. Malala Yousafzai, who risked her life for education. Her purpose was bigger than her fear. Elon Musk, whose relentless pursuit of innovation isn't just about technology, it's about humanity's future. Mother Teresa, who found her meaning not in wealth or recognition, but in serving the forgotten. These people weren't superhuman. They just knew why they were doing what they did. When you know your why, every failure becomes a lesson. Every obstacle becomes a test of devotion, not a signal to quit. You stop running from challenges and start rising through them. The trap of misaligned dreams. Let's be real. Not every dream we chase comes from truth. Some come from comparison, from wanting to prove something, from the fear of being ordinary. You might chase a dream because it looks shiny, because the world told you that success equals applause, fame, or comfort. But the wrong dream, no matter how big, will always feel hollow when you reach it. It's like climbing to the top of a mountain only to realize you're on the wrong one. So pause. Ask yourself, is this dream mine or someone else's idea of success? The dreams that are truly yours will feel lighter, not heavier. They'll energize you even when you're exhausted. They'll give you peace, not pressure. Purpose doesn't demand perfection, it demands honesty. A story of realignment. In 1997, a young woman named J.K. Rowling sat in a coffee shop, broke, rejected, and nearly ready to give up on her manuscript. Publishers had turned her away again and again. Her friends told her to move on, get a real job. But Rowling's purpose wasn't fame. It wasn't money. It was storytelling. She once said, "I wrote because I had to. The world in my head was more real than the one around me." That purpose carried her through rejection after rejection, until one yes changed everything. She didn't write to become J.K. Rowling, the billionaire. She wrote to give the world hope, imagination, and courage through a boy who lived under the stairs. That's what purpose does. It gives meaning to the struggle. Without purpose, failure feels final. With purpose, failure feels like part of the process. The alignment formula. Clarity plus contribution plus consistency. 1. Clarity. Get brutally honest about what matters most. What do you care about enough to suffer for? Passion without clarity leads to burnout. Clarity without passion leads to boredom. You need both. 2. Contribution. Who benefits from your dream? Purpose grows when it serves others. A dream that uplifts others never dies. It echoes. 3. Consistency. You can't live on bursts of inspiration. Purpose thrives in daily devotion, the small, unseen actions that build meaning over time. It's brushing the dust off and showing up again. From dreaming to meaning. Most people chase happiness, but those who live fulfilled lives chase meaning. And here's the twist. Meaning doesn't always make you happy in the moment. Sometimes it's hard, painful, even lonely. But it gives you something happiness can't. Depth. Happiness is a moment. Meaning is a movement. And your dream becomes unstoppable the moment it aligns with something greater than you. When you work only for yourself, your energy runs out when life hits hard. But when you work for a cause, a community, a belief, your fire becomes infinite. A whisper from the future. Imagine it's 20 years from now. You're standing at the edge of your life's work, the dream you dared to build. You see the faces of those who were touched by it, the lives changed, the hearts lifted, the legacy left behind. Wouldn't it be beautiful to know that your dream didn't just serve you, it served others? That's the essence of purpose. It's what turns ordinary effort into extraordinary impact. Because at the end of it all, success isn't about what you've built. It's about who you've become and what you've given. Key takeaways. Purpose gives your passion direction. It's the why behind the what. The wrong dream, even if achieved, will never feel fulfilling. When your dream serves others, your energy becomes limitless. Purpose turns struggle into strength and failure into growth. Clarity, contribution, and consistency are the anchors of meaningful living. Action step/challenge. Tonight, write down 3 answers. 1. What breaks your heart? This reveals your compassion. 2. What excites your soul? This reveals your passion. 3. Where do they meet? That's your purpose. Then, commit one small action this week that reflects that alignment. Something that moves your dream from self-driven to soul-driven. Because when you live with purpose, every ordinary day becomes extraordinary. And that's when life stops being something you survive and starts being something you were born to live. Chapter 12. Do. Dare. Dream again. The rebirth of purpose and the lifelong journey. There will come a day, perhaps it's today, when you'll stand at a quiet crossroads in your life. The noise will fade. The applause, the doubt, the dreams you've chased, all of it will go still. And in that stillness, one question will rise like a whisper from deep within. Now what? You see, most people think the journey ends when the dream is achieved. The mountain is climbed. The goal is reached. But that's only the illusion of an ending, because the dreamer's soul never stops yearning, never stops searching, never stops becoming. Every ending is a door. Every victory is a beginning disguised in triumph's glow. The dream doesn't die when you reach it. It evolves, asking you to do, dare, and dream again. The circle of becoming. Think of your life like a series of horizons. When you reach one, another emerges. You don't stand at the top of a mountain to rest. You stand there to see farther. That's the secret the world's most fulfilled people know. They never stop dreaming. They never settle for one version of themselves. When Nelson Mandela walked out of prison after 27 years, he could have lived quietly, away from politics, away from struggle. But he didn't. His dream of freedom evolved into a dream of forgiveness, unity, and nationhood. He didn't stop at freedom. He expanded it. When Oprah Winfrey built an empire, she could have stopped after fame and fortune. But she didn't. Her dream grew into empowering others to find their voice, their healing, their higher self. And when you, the reader, finish this chapter, I want you to remember this. This isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning of your becoming. The Phoenix moment. Dreams burn out. They do. Passion fades. Motivation dies. And there are moments you'll feel empty, like all the fire you once had is gone. But that's not death. That's rebirth. When the ashes settle, something extraordinary happens. You begin to dream differently. Not from desire, but from depth. Not from ambition, but from alignment. That's when you start building not just for yourself, but for the world that comes after you. Every true dreamer faces the Phoenix moment. The point when the old dream ends, and the new one begins. Fiercer, freer, more real. So if you're standing in ruins, know this. You're standing at the gateway of your next evolution. The courage to begin again. To dare once is bravery. To dare again after failure, heartbreak, or exhaustion, that's mastery. The world remembers those who dared again. Walt Disney went bankrupt twice before his dream kingdom was born. Colonel Sanders was rejected over 1,000 times before someone tasted his recipe. Sarah Blakely, founder of Spanx, turned years of rejection into the foundation of her billion-dollar purpose. Every time they fell, they rose with clearer eyes. They didn't chase the same dream twice. They chased a wiser one. That's the true essence of this book. Not just to dream once, but to keep dreaming. Wiser, deeper, stronger, through every season of your soul. The evolution of a dreamer. Your dreams will change as you do. What once mattered may no longer call you. That's not failure. That's growth. The 20-year-old version of you wanted to prove something. The 30-year-old version wants to build something. The 40-year-old version wants to give something. And the 50-year-old version? It wants to be something, free, fulfilled, whole. Each chapter of life demands a new dream, one aligned with who you're becoming. So never fear reinvention. Never fear starting over. To outgrow your old dreams means you've outgrown your limits. The Dreamer's Code. If this book could leave you with one eternal code to live by, let it be this. 1. Dream boldly. Even when the world laughs. Even when logic argues. Let your imagination outgrow your environment. The dream is not supposed to make sense yet. It's supposed to make you more. 2. Dare bravely. The gap between dreaming and doing is courage. Step into it, trembling, uncertain, alive. You don't need confidence to begin. Courage will create it along the way. 3. Do relentlessly. Action transforms identity. Small steps, repeated in faith, carve destiny. Keep doing. Even when no one sees, even when no one applauds. Especially then. 4. Rise eternally. Every fall is a fragment of your flight. You were not built to break. You were built to become. This is the rhythm of the dreamer's heart, a pulse that beats beyond fear, beyond failure, beyond time itself. When the world forgets, remember, there will be nights when the world feels too heavy, when your dream seems too far, and the path too lonely. You'll doubt yourself. You'll question why you even began. In those moments, remember this. The world needs your dream, even if it doesn't know it yet. Somebody out there is waiting for what only you can create, teach, write, design, or become. So hold on. Not just for you, but for the stranger whose life will quietly shift because you refuse to quit. Your courage will be someone else's permission slip. Your survival will be someone else's spark. The legacy of doing, daring, dreaming. Legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you leave within. It's the ripple effect of a single choice, to live on purpose, with passion, and with relentless action. One day, someone will look at your life and see proof that impossible is just another word for not yet. They'll see how you fell and rose, how you dreamed and dared, and they'll whisper your name, not because you were perfect, but because you were real, the final flame. So here you are, standing at the edge of the final page, the quiet space between ending and becoming. Take a deep breath. Feel it. This is not goodbye. This is ignition. You've learned to dream without apology. You've dared despite fear. You've done the work when no one was watching. Now it's time to do it again, wiser, freer, fuller. Because the world doesn't need more dreamers who wait. It needs dreamers who do. And maybe, just maybe, this book found you not to change who you are, but to remind you of who you've been all along. The fire, the force, the dreamer who never stopped daring. Key takeaways. Every dream has a season, but the dreamer's purpose is eternal. Success is not the finish line. It's the launch pad for new beginnings. Falling, rebuilding, and daring again are signs of growth, not failure. Legacy is built through courage, compassion, and continuous creation. The real journey isn't about reaching the horizon. It's about becoming it. Action step or challenge. Tonight, sit in silence for 5 minutes. Close your eyes and ask yourself, what new dream is calling me now? Don't filter it. Don't question it. Just listen. Then, write it down, even if it scares you, even if it feels impossible. Because that's how every great story begins. And when you open your eyes again, remember, you are not the same person who started this book. You are the dreamer reborn, ready to do. Dare. Dream again.